Hey everyone, it's me, Patchdown Bogan. You know, Today I woke up thinking to myself, The Matrix, we all know what we're talking about. It's not the movie, even though the movie was a very beautiful explanation of it, a good precursor of what the Matrix is. But we're not simply talking about, flying around and beating, you know, some, you know, some antivirus that's trying to stop us from stopping the Matrix. But we all do know that credit to that movie, it did give us a lot of food for thought. You know, that should not be detested because that's why I made this video. In other words, when we think about what the lengths that people go through in order to believe something, they go through such great lengths on their behalf, even to death. Kind of reminds me of Agent Mulder in the X Files series, him and Agent Scully. No matter what, this individual did everything within his power to believe for the sake of believing. With the whole spiel with aliens, he honestly believed that his sister was abducted by aliens. And the creator, the writer of X Files, did a fabulous job in trying to heavily suggest that this happened. And due to his great creativity, his writing, progressively where helped to appreciate that at one point Agent Mulder had to find closure, and he had to really look deep within himself and really confront his shadow self, if you will, and say, you know what, the truth itself, it is out there, but people just want to believe for the sake of believing, like he did. And upon doing so, he ended up, leaving the show and then coming back and all this other stuff. And I'm not gonna get into detail, but I'm gonna stop there with that example because it helps us to appreciate that based off of what we believe in is really constructed by the Matrix, by society, and they benefit from it, and whoever they are. But yet, I came to realize that with the amount of information that we have, though it's more based off a testimony, like myself, like as I relate the information to you about the occult, it's really testimonial based, whereas imperial evidence is something highly different. It's actually proven by multiple well reported and honorable scholars, you know, but that does not mean that you can't pursue that that formula. You see, you don't want to believe for the sake of believing. You want to believe based off of the evidence and where it leads you so that you can be more correct in what you say, what you do, and even what you believe in. That's why when I think about the Matrix, it's something that really holds people down. It keeps them unaware of what really goes on. Like, for example, I think someone who is a teacher, a fireman, a firewoman, or something of whatever, of that, well, not whatever, but of that caliber, that it takes great bravery. It takes a lot of strength on their part to want to teach. And believe me, it takes a lot of strength to be a teacher because you have to really love to see someone prosper and to see them grow. Hence, I love to teach. I love to teach about the occult, and I love to see those who listen to what I'm saying. Either they're challenging me based off of what I'm saying, or they agree to what I'm saying. The point is that when you teach someone a subject, and you see that it had affected them in such a way where either they're challenging you, it causes you to reflect on your particular truth, and you could adjust it if needed or even add a truth to it. In other words, it's a refinement, and refinement is very important for anyone. And that's why, I'm led to make this video, to explain it in such a way where it's like either there is an absolute truth or not. It's something that I may or may not even discover. I probably have already, but having that particular truth or that absolute truth, I've learned mankind has been scrambling for it, dying off of it, claiming it. You know how many people said that because they believe in God, they claim that God speaks to them? See, I will be no different than those individuals if I make claims that the daemons speak through me to you. That's why I say my pattern of thought, it's more testimonial based. It's something that you yourself have to discover yourself, because again, I said this in my other videos, I can't, it's not like I could demonstrably show Satan in this video. You know what I mean? It's like, in other words, he's not just going to appear just because I want him to. It's something that you have to realize on yourself on how things work. That's why too, what I like about being a bit of a skeptic of myself, even of my belief system of the occult, I always try to differentiate things, like if it's audio hallucination or visual hallucination, or was it really by a external consciousness, a being. You have to think this way, because this isn't 2000, 4000, whatever years ago, where someone is told that they are possessed by a daemon or a demon or whatever, and they're not really. It's really a mental problem that they're going through. And now today it seems as if like that's what's usually the case. Like demon possession is just, you could really just write it off as just folklore, if you will. Because what else would an ancient man believe? Just like when people don't really think about what they read in the Bible, when you go to like the more older Bibles and it speaks about the firmament, well, they believe, this ancient man believed, that the sky itself it was like a device, some sort of instrument that had holes in it, and that's where the stars would just shine through and so forth, and water would come through. They were talking about an instrument that you could cook with. Like, I mean, it's an ancient man. And to base my belief on everything that I read in an ancient book, I would believe that would be, by definition, ludicrous. Because not only do you need a huge dosage of mental gymnastics to prove such a thing, you have to be also deluded. In other words, firm in your reality. Maybe I shouldn't say the word deluded, but firm in your reality to still believe something like that when the evidence is right in front of you. Because you could read words like that and use mental gymnastics and go, well, that's what he meant, and that's the understanding of the particular, ancient man, and it's just a figurative way of speaking, but that's not good enough. And the reason being is that, and this is me still on the topic of being pragmatic and thinking about the matrix and how people want you to think, and how this ancient man wanted his cohorts, his followers, to believe what he believed in, right? So when we think about a situation like that, and we think about how one writes a Bible, it takes a lot of mental gymnastics, because you're claiming that you know how God feels and what he really means, as opposed to what's being said right there in scripture. And then you have a thinker like myself, where it's like, but if he's as powerful as you claim he is, why would he need you to do that and not tell me himself? And two, why would he not edit the Bible himself? Because before the wrong was put in the Bible, don't you think that if he's all powerful, all knowing, he should correct it before it's put in the Bible? You see, and that's my point. It's not me bashing Abrahamic religions, but it's me proving a point. And the point is that when you're stuck in the matrix, you allow that's ignorance on your part or deliberate, you know, just leaving out the, you know, that important information that you know that is true to an extent, but you still continue on doing what you do. That to me is still part of the matrix because you're still doing something that society wants you to do. And that's why I like the left hand path. I love, excuse me, the left hand path. But I will say this, and to be pragmatic, to be fair, you have charlatans in the occult. How many times have you heard of some tarot card reading claiming your future? Call me now. You know what I mean? Charlatans. And they do it only for the money. It's just all for show. That's why what I do has a very bad rep, you know? And that's me being fair. But that's why the burden of proof, which I do have a video that explains about, you know, where the burden of proof falls. And just to explain just a little bit, just to touch on it, you know, I'm not claiming that it is my job to manifest this Satan in front of you or anyone, any being, of that matter of the cult to you. It's something that you need to experience yourself. Because the honest answer at times is that simply, I just don't know, is the honest approach. And if you still believe in something, it means that you have to be convinced over it over a length of time. Just like I believe in what I'm saying, hence I'm doing YouTube, and I try my best to help people to appreciate the darker matters of life through the left-hand path. But that's just what I believe in, right? Because I had to convince myself. But then when you really think about it, you really have to be careful of the research that you research, because then you have to do research about what you just recently researched to see if that's true or not, right? That's why, to me, experience is one of the best teachers. It's one of the best teachers. That's why I like so much. And again, I go back to the TV show X-Files. You know, it's been a point in that show where I know I've seen it to the final season where, you know, Mulder, he was actually abducted, and Scully was pregnant by his baby that had, you know, ESP or psychic powers. And this is a woman who had faith in some creator God, but yet, like well, I'm not a scientist, but a skeptic. I'm a very logical person, very grounded. But she was a scientist, you know, she's very grounded. Her approach to things, even with her own faith, which she struggled with, she had to come into terms eventually that, you know, her baby had ESP and Mulder was in fact abducted, or at least gone missing due to very strange coincidences. And again, very, very nice writing. But the point of me bringing that out is Lee Scully experienced, you know, the supernatural through this particular baby, you know, and she was able to believe based off of that. But she knew, just like myself, it's something you cannot demonstrate to people. Even if you can explain it, there's always someone that's going to debunk it, and they're going to basically, you know, try to turn that around on it, turn it on its head. That's why, oddly enough, when you think about spirituality, a lot of it is pragmatic, but it's also coupled with, like I said before, testimonial evidence, not imperial. And when you think about that, you need to really think before you act, think before you speak. So, in other words, I rather say that what I believe in serves as a model. This model is not a claim that it's absolute. This model is based off of evidence. It is connected with other types of evidence due to reliable sources that I've done research upon research and then research to see that what I researched was true. But you know what? Though this model isn't perfect, it led me to where I'm at. And it always accepts truth as truth, or evidence tends to be available, because what is now a truth, a fact, and a model was not a couple hundred years ago or even 1,000. Think about it. Chickenpox right now could be cured, but just go back some years back. People didn't even know what it was. Killed people by the droves. You get what I'm trying to say? You cannot say that, not that you cannot, but to make a total claim that you have an absolute truth. No matter what era you're in, it's very bold. You have to back that. I guarantee you the people, of the time that suffered from chickenpox, the common cold, wish they knew they had, the resources to take care of it. Because it was a massacre. You see? Whatever truth that they believe in, I know they try to do what a lot of individuals do today. They use a lot of mental gymnastics. And if it caused them to throw in myths, throw in legends, old wife tales, they did whatever they could to explain the unexplainable. That's really what it comes down to. That's why when I hear the word faith, what I perceive the word faith is that you're telling me you don't know. You simply just don't know. Because if you knew, then you would have knew a lot better. In fact, your God or this being would have knew a lot more better. And he definitely would not send you to tell me that. Because, not for nothing, but this being, this God, why does he have to be more stupider than me in order to construct any sort of holy book, any sort of direction that is filled with so many contradictions, plot holes? And not saying that these holy Bibles don't contain wealth of good information in a way where, if you're telling me to love my neighbor, first of all, you don't need to be divine to say that. And that teaching, that phrase, that adage, it existed way before, any supposed divine being claiming to be God ever came to earth to give some sort of, sermon. It's just that you have to do research. The more research you do, the more better off you are. That's why I say what I do serves as a model. Because if someone right now were to tell me, better yet, no, if this being, this God, and I'm going to be even straightforward with you, if this God, this Yahweh, this Jesus would appear for me right now and tell me, worship me, I am God or I am Jesus, first of all, my qualm with that is, how would I know what a divine looks like? Think about it. How would I know what a divine looks like? As far as I know, when we think about angels, we traditionally think of them as individuals with wings. But as far as I know, and based off of memory, a holy book, any holy book is not in front of me, but based off of my memory, an angel, if you will, was always mentioned as someone that's a man, that's flying around. I don't remember seeing wings put on its back, but I do remember it speaking about cherubs or seraphs having wings. But then again, what's a seraph? What's a cherub? What's a divine? What does a Satan looks like? What does a spirit guide looks like? Don't you think that these are all constructed in a man-made way to basically help you to appreciate the message? I believe so. And mind you, I'm not hung up on the idea that because I don't know what a divine looks like, I make a big deal out of it. But what I am saying is that the burden of proof, because we're still talking about the Matrix here, the burden of proof does not fall upon me. It does not even fall upon you, only the one that's making the claim. So in other words, if Satan, but at the moment for the sake of discussion, we'll say this Satan, if this Satan, because supposedly you need to look at evidence first and see where it leads you, if this being is exactly who it, she, he, or whatever says it is, right? Whatever this Satan, says, he has the burden of proof. He needs to prove to you that he is what he says he is, and the occult and the black magic and so forth. And then you're able to do what I do and teach it. But as far as me demonstrating Satan, I can't do that, and I won't do that. That's not my job. My job is to present the information in front of you, and you accept it if you want. If not, then you don't have to. That's why I say it serves as a model only. I never claimed absolute truth, not on this channel. So with that logic, and I'm being fair, it applies to some divine being, don't you think? If I don't know what a divine being looks like, and if I don't know what it looks like, then why must I worship you? And even if he did what Satan did and used figurative speech or images to help me to appreciate what a divine being looks like, my next question would be, then why must I serve you? And why must I trust the explanation and the images that you showed me? And the reason being is that the reason why that I'm the way I am, being a bit of a skeptic, because you have to be. In fact, I'll be skeptical of anyone, like even myself, who's on YouTube claiming that the occult is real. It's not it's not a contradiction on my part if I'm not the one making the claim. The claim lies on this particular spirit that is speaking to you, and so forth. And you heard me say that enough. But I did prove my point, or at least I believe I have. Because I know, like, when I was Christian, I was once perhaps just like you, believing in God, the whole 9 yards. I was that person that knocked on your door, tried to convince you, but then, when it wasn't convenient for me, I would say I'll be right back with the answers. Most likely, one, I never went back. Two, it's just that I came back, but the answer was just as silly as the first one. And the reason why I'm saying this, friends, is because people want to believe. They just want to believe so badly, just like Agent Mulder. There are cases that people just want to believe very, very badly, and people have not come to grips with closure with themselves one way or another. That's why it's really up to you, the individual, to see if it's true or not, or even if it gets that far. I say that because it's not right for myself or anyone to have a platform like that of YouTube and to express themselves without being pragmatic. Because if you think about the majority of the world, it's again, they're like-minded individual. They're the laymen. You know what I mean? And these are the people that push the world. They build the world around you, the buildings, the cars, and so forth. And it's always some thinker, someone telling them what to do all the time. But yet, like myself, all I'm trying to say is to encourage you to think outside the box, like this matrix that I'm talking about. That's the theme of this video. So in other words, being that layman upon the billions and billions of people that have a job, a 9 to 5, you have to make ends meet, all this other stuff. How about you start thinking outside the box? So in other words, don't you think that the person that is doing the thinking for you, that they are no different than you are? In fact, people in ancient time that was building the pyramids or whatever have you, they were no smarter than you and I. They were just normal people. Your boss is just a normal person. A scholar is just a normal person. Only difference between them and yourself or myself is just the fact that they're probably a little bit more educated than you or myself. They've run faster, right? Just like now, I just have a platform. That's the only thing that makes me different than you. I'd rather not be the person that's in the basement, that's typing comments, just trying to troll, or something to that effect. I'm not that person. I'm bold enough to have a platform, willing to be challenged for one's belief. Why? Well, because I love what I do. I love Satan. And if people have a problem with that, I know, if I feel that it's important to respond to it, then I do so. But most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, it's not important to actually do that whatsoever, because it's just a waste of time. People have interior motives. But you're no different than the person that made the pyramid. That's the thinker of society. And we're not saying that the thinkers, the people that have the wealth and so forth, that they don't believe in stupid things, because they still fall underneath the category. And again, the only thing that makes them different is that they either hold back information that is esoteric, just like the information that I try to give to you to teach you about black magic, so you could take back power to ascend to be a god, to reach godhead. Because why must someone else do the thinking for you? You get what I say? That you don't want to be a part of the matrix. You want to be a person that, when you look at everything as a whole, where do you stand in this, the annal of history, the annal of times? Don't you see yourself making something of yourself? If you knew of a way to do that, would you not do it? That's why I do the things I do. Through a darker path, a darker means, yeah. But it's one of those things where I'm taking back power that belongs to me. Not because some holy book that wants me to believe in subliminals, numerology in a holy text. No, I'm taking back power in what belongs to me. And no, I'm not going to believe in what someone else tells me with no evidence whatsoever. Tell me just to believe for the sake of believing. Have you noticed that throughout this whole entire discussion, I did not mention once to believe for the sake of what I'm believing? No. I'm saying that you have to basically find out for yourself. And that's why, in closing, I always look at, that TV show, X-Files. Mulder being a very, very intelligent individual. I forget, perhaps he graduated from Harvard or something like that. I forget, it was a very Ivy League school. Very intelligent person, but yet he believed in aliens, man. It's like, there is no exception to the rule. There's no exception. Think about it. Even though it's a part of the Matrix, and very intelligent as they may be, if they even human or not, reptilian, astroparasites, whatever have you, they still have to be firm in their reality, regardless how diluted it is, in order to see themselves as a master race or some Illuminati, if you will. You know what I mean? In the darkness, to keep esoteric teachings for themselves, to keep the wealth to themselves, to keep you in chains. Think about it, okay? So I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to say, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this video, because it does help me out a lot. And I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it was educational. I'll put thought into it. And I hope that it gives you food for thought, for you to at least write a comment. Tell me what you think, okay? I love you all. Thank you for coming to my channel. And you guys have a good day. See you soon.